Since it's been such a quiet free agency period for the Eagles, why don't we allow ourselves to dream a little bit? Who on this roster might be next year's Zack Baun or Milton Williams or even Nakobe Dean? We'll try to figure that out next on the PHLY Eagles podcast with Zack Berman in studio. Top of the morning, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Monday. Bo Wolf, Zack Berman, ready to talk about the birds. Zack, how was your weekend?
It's a nice weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
You're wearing green, are ya?
By chance, yes. So are you. Is this your
By
St. Patty's
chance
Day
as
shirt?
well. Maybe this green tea right here is my lucky tea.
Are you a St. Patty's Day guy?
No, not really.
No?
How about you?
Have you ever done Aaron Express?
I have never done Aaron Express. How about you?
Have you, Julia? Okay. I haven't done it, but I've been like walking around during Aaron Express. It is a force of nature, right?
Yeah, it's a reason to leave the city, frankly.
Well, I used to live in Hoboken. And it's pretty big up there too, and so I recall that well. But no, I always when St. Patty's Day corresponds with the NCAA tournament, I actually don't love that because
the bars are crowded.
Yes, I used to.
Yeah, you don't want that.
It was like it was always the week after free agency or so, and when NCAA tournament was going on, and I was at the Inquirer. I didn't have a regular show, right? So I would take that afternoon off and go to the bar and just watch all the games. It was awesome. But then when it overlaps with St. Patrick's Day,
you don't want that.
Yeah, they're not there to watch the games. Yeah, exactly. You want people who are sweating out the 5.5 point dog in the 7-10 game, right?
Yeah. There you go. We've got a fun show today. And by the way, yes, we do have 4 hands here today, but not the original plan we had. We will get back to that another time. I did make a little rain check, so we look forward to doing that down the line. But I like the conceit of today's show, Zack. And what we want to do, it's a time to be optimistic. It's a time to dream as you look at this Eagles roster. And we have like 6 different categories of players from the 2024 team. And we want to just throw some darts. We're not holding ourselves to these opinions, but let's dream. Who are players on this team who could make leaps over the course of the next calendar year? We've got 6 levels. The Zack Baun guy, who could become a household name to NFL fans across the league and turn into a superstar. We've got the Milton Williams, who could be somebody who earns a big payday, goes from rotational player to borderline star. We've got the Mekhi Becton, who could be someone who resurrects their career, comes in and gets in with the Eagles and proves that they are a capable starter. We've got the Nakobe Dean / Nolan Smith lane, which is homegrown players who take a jump, maybe rewrite the early story of their career. We've got the Moro Ojomo lane, which is who's a young guy who could become a part of the rotation and earn himself sort of being part of the team's plans moving forward. And then finally, the Oren Burks level, which is just who could come in from the veteran scrap heap and be a capable replacement when called upon. It should be fun.
I really like this. And we should preface this by saying we're not projecting someone becomes like a first team.
No, this is we're not holding ourselves to anything here. Yeah. Just as you in your mind's eye dream about next season, who could make these kinds of leaps? Because a year ago, certainly nobody would have seen Zack Baun.
Exactly.
Nobody would have seen Oren Burks. I guess maybe Oren Burks. You could. Howie said he was the best third linebacker in the NFL. But
Mekhi Becton at right guard.
Becton, yeah, of course. All of these things are very unexpected. So.
And we also acknowledge that they might add before the draft, they might add after the draft. So these opinions could evolve. These are the opinions as of St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
There you go.
There you go.
You got me back into it. And Rory McIlroy winning the Players' Championship on St. Patty's Day. How it could be better than that?
Did you watch that?
I did this morning, yes.
How was it?
Not that exciting, actually.
No? Okay.
Undramatic. JJ Spawn just blew up. So there you go. How was your weekend of writing?
Productive.
My man.
Very productive. I realized like I love my kids more than anything, but like I see how I was so productive, how small, so much more productive in my 20s when there's no like birthday party you have to go to or baseball game, and you can just work all day. You're so much more productive that way. I wouldn't choose that over what I have now. But
I mean, the way you're talking,
no,
like the
but
love in your voice as you say
there's
that.
no love in my voice, but I'm saying, but the
pining that you
if
have
you need to get work done
for an untethered life.
No, if you need to get work done, having a clear schedule and no demands on that schedule makes it more effective to get work done. So it was nice. I was able to do that, and but I was excited for 2:00 today to do the show.
I think I'm going to leave that one alone.
Okay, I say that lovingly.
Multiple people in the chat also glomming onto, I love my kids, but.
I love my kids, period. New sentence. How about that? It is true because, I remember I had a professor growing up who said that if you use but in a sentence, it negates everything that comes before. Like it takes away everything that comes before it. So I love my kids, period.
I like your butt.
I did not see it going there. Anyways, it was a productive weekend. How was your weekend preparing for the baby?
It was good. Yeah,
Good.
We got some stuff done.
Good. What was the most effective thing you got done?
The most effective thing? I mean, installing the car seat.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Those are heavier than people think.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess, yeah. I mean, maybe that was before you started doing F45.
No, it's more when you have to when you're flying and if you have to bring the car seats with you. Those things are
it can wear on you a little bit.
Yeah, lugging that through the airport.
Yeah. Okay. We have a super chat early on from Paper Monocrat who says, Peckness migrate, autocracy, kleptocracy, oligarchy.
I'll defer to you here.
I guess. I mean, geez. Yeah. I guess I'm gonna migrate. Like, what is a peck in this context? Do you think like 1 4-year cycle? One
That's why I'm staying
lifetime.
away from this one. Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna migrate autocracy. I don't know. I don't have a good one here.
Yeah. I would just choose
I'd like
democracy.
to migrate them all.
I would just choose democracy. So
well, most people didn't.
All right, let's get on.
Okay. I want to ask you before we get into this part of the exercise, I want to ask you one hypothetical first as we think about this. And that is, let's say, and I don't think the Eagles ever wanted it to get to this point, and that's why they were willing to go up to $17 million for Zack Baun. But let's say Zack Baun told the Eagles, listen, I loved my time here. I would love to come back if it works, but I got to get to the market. I got to see what the league values me at. I want to just see. And let's say someone blows him out of the water 5 minutes into free agency and offers him $20 million a year. What do you think free agency would have looked like for the Eagles if they had not brought Zack Baun back?
Yeah, it's a great question. My guess is they're paying for an edge rusher. Well, the first thing I think they do is try to keep Milton Williams in that case, but I don't think they get up to $26 million.
Right.
And my guess is Milton knew going into free agency that number was going to be north of 20, and I don't think the Eagles were going to go there for Milt. So then I think they would have pivoted to an edge rusher. If I had to say, based on the contracts dispensed, Khalil Mack would jump out to me, but if they're playing the comp pick game, you're probably looking at a guy who's been cut elsewhere.
But if Baun leaves, you have that's then 5 players leaving that are qualifying comp picks. So I mean, maybe it means they pay for Isaiah Rodgers instead or something like that, and then add somebody else. But you don't have to play. You don't have to preserve all. You can't preserve all 5. You only can get 4.
Exactly.
And so there's room to have one guy who qualifies.
Yeah. So my guess is
I do think they were interested in Khalil Mack, but he signed before free agency. Opened.
But if Baun's hitting the market, then maybe they can signal to Khalil Mack's agent.
Of course, signal.
Just stick around a bit.
Sure, would be nice if you made it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is my guess. A player I think they would spend it on an edge rusher. I don't think they would have spent more on Mekhi Becton for the
I
reason
agree.
being that I didn't think they were going to have 5 guards. I hope you all watched our emergency show on Saturday, or listened to it. I don't think they were going to have 5 offensive linemen with 8-digit contracts. I don't think they would have paid, as we discussed, turned around and paid a linebacker $12 million. If there's a safety, you were big on Morig, who signed with the Panthers, but I think they would have gone with an edge rusher, and I think Khalil Mack probably would have been the fit. Now, for me, I would say just sign Azeez Ojulari. He's the guy who, going into this, I said I would like, clearly there's a difference in the way teams are valuing him and what he wants for himself if he's still on the market on March 17th.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how they would have spent that money in a different way. I think maybe it is like you signed that Isaiah Rodgers deal. Maybe you bring back Oren Burks, and then you still have room to add, somebody like an Ojulari or whoever else.
Do you think Von Miller's washed at this point?
Probably, but that doesn't mean that.
I mean, because
they wouldn't be worth taking a
he's
look.
someone who also has played under Fangio. I don't know if he had the same relationship with Fangio that Khalil Mack did per se, but he's still lingering on the market, and he fits that profile of a win now move. He's someone who would not count against the compact formula. I'm surprised that hasn't been one that there's been more buzz about.
Yeah, what do you? I mean, do you think that Ojulari is now going to sign for like a 1 year, $7 million deal and hit the market again next year?
That's what it looks like. The other thing he can do, and I think more players should do what Mekhi Becton did last year. If you're confident that you're going to be signed, okay, then wait until after the draft, because one thing that you don't want if you're signing one of those 1 year deals is to be drafted over, right? Is if they take an edge rusher first round and then that cuts into your playing time. When we get the chance to speak to Harrison Bryant, I am curious, when he signed with the Raiders last year, he didn't know they were going to take Brock Bowers, and then he becomes the number 3 tight end. So it just changes the depth chart. So if unless you feel like you're entrenched as a top 2, top 3 guy, wait until after the draft, see what depth charts look like then. Easier for me to say when I'm not
sure. That makes sense if there is not a lot of variance in like what you're being offered, because the flip side to waiting until after the draft is all of a sudden there are fewer suitors.
Absolutely.
Right? There will be teams who draft someone and then are no longer interested, and so the price might not be worth it. But if you are looking for a 1 year prove it deal, get back in the market, that does make some sense.
And then also we should note that the contracts that have gone out to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I don't want to say reinforces, but it's what we discussed last year when they signed Devontae and A.J. Brown. Prices are not going down for these players. It's better to be first to the market than react to the market. It befuddles me that the Dallas Cowboys still have not signed signed Micah Parsons, and so I think that this is constructive to know or instructive, I should probably say, for Cam Jurgens, and then eventually Jalen Carter. My guess is Jalen Carter, the minute they're able to sign him, they're going to try to sign him.
On that front, and what we have talked about a lot over the course of the past week is the Eagles are saving cash. That's part of the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, so that they can use that money for the cap room next year to extend guys like Jalen Carter. And I think the framing is a little bit, this is their way of making sure that they remain competitive every year for the next 3-4 years, right? Because you also getting the comp picks are going to help reinforce that, as opposed to sort of pushing your chips all in with this Super Bowl roster for next season and then having to rebuild a little bit in 27-28. Do you think that's the right decision? Is that what you would do if you were the general manager?
I would not go all in for next season.
Like, would you trade, let's say, bringing back guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Dallas Goedert and keeping this core together gives you a 20% chance of winning the Super Bowl, which is still very high. Optimistic. But it means that in 27 and 28, you're down to 2%. Or would you rather have a 10% chance every year?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would rather have a 10% chance every year. But CJ's the one, and as I was watching back Friday's show, I probably should have been more forceful about that. CJ's the move they made that I would not have made if it was entirely motivated by cash, right? And again, it's easy to spend someone else's money. I get that. Number one. And number two, I don't know everything about if there was personality dynamics at play here, or if there was a demand for a new deal. But I think when the move that surprised me last week was not losing Milton or losing Sweat or losing Becton, it was trading CJ, and that's the one that I probably would have done differently. But as I look at it, no, I want to. I've said this about Howie: always be building, right? Build. And you have your core in place, but I would your chances of winning a Super Bowl, even when you think you have a loaded roster, I mean, the odds are far more in favor of you not winning than you winning. So I would try to have a sustainable roster that when things break right, injuries, personnel moves, go get it. I also don't like the idea of, and we've discussed this, whether you call it sentimentality, whether you call it paying for optimum performance, like expecting what the best outcomes were the year before to carry over to the following year. Like
Sure.
chances are Zack Baun, I mean, Zack Baun might be different, but Saquon Barkley probably won't have the year last year or the year next year that he had last year. And you go on down the list. I mean, whether it was health, whether it was just players playing outstanding, we've seen this in the past, is that there's variance year to year, and I wouldn't just pay for what I just saw, expecting that result to duplicate.
I think that's right. I think there are ways in which it doesn't have to necessarily be both things, where like
Yes.
you could move on from those players, but also add from the outside
Sure.
while still spending money and forfeiting some flexibility in 27, 28.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is less exciting at this stage of the offseason to be responsible.
Yes, you're right. Now, to your point, though, there's a way of being responsible, but also being creative. Like, and everyone has a number. I get that. If you reflect back on the 2023 offseason, if the Eagles did not bring James Bradberry back and had they signed Zach Allen, things would look different, right? Like now, you don't know what the reverberations would be from that. Point being, though,
Right, of course. Like Zach
Yeah.
Allen would have been a much better signing, but then there's a chance maybe they don't draft Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's
So
all-
so
of
that's the thing.
course.
You don't know the sliding doors part of it. But my point is you can operate your Super Bowl off seasons the way you do when you're trying to build a Super Bowl team, which is like go out and try to bring talent in from elsewhere and not just being devoted to the players you just had. And I respect that Howie's thinking that way, because in hindsight, the James Bradberry contract did not work out. The Alshon Jeffrey contract did not work out. And so there are moves you make sometimes where you pay guys based on the performance they've had, and they fall off the cliff quickly.
All right, before we get to our ad break, I want to remind you that we have a fun event for diehards coming up next Tuesday night, March 25th. The Duff Man himself, Fran Duffy, is going to do a little tape session. He's going to do some guys with you if you sign up. It's going to be a lot of fun. You get to watch Fran watch film. We'll go through some of the free agent additions, and because the free agent additions are probably a little bit less exciting than maybe we were hoping, we'll dip our beaks into the draft as well. So you get to come here, check out the studios, hang with Fran and myself. But Fran's going to really do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
No.
Zach knows that I don't work
That's
hard.
not what I'm saying.
He's very much on the record as
No, I didn't say that.
And so it's a lot of fun. And listen, tickets are going fast. This is limited availability, and we're down to like 7 spots left, I believe. So get in now while you still can. And then there's another one coming up on May 6th as well, and that will be just all draft guys that we're doing. So that should be a lot of fun.
I so respect Fran's dedication to his craft. I was texting him this morning. I'm not going to read the text. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but he's talking about watching these round 5 guys and making sure that like he has the scouting reports buttoned up. That's awesome. So you get to experience that with Fran. What kind of joy is that? Like I talked about that.
Poor Fran, though. I mean, imagine how many guys he could watch if he didn't have any kids.
I mean, it's probably true. Like there's nothing. I had a conversation recently, and the question was about balance in your life. Okay. And I said, I don't believe in balance. I believe in trade-offs. Balance suggests that it's supposed to be 50-50. And it's never 50-50. It's trade-offs. You have to decide what you're willing to trade off at a given time. There are times in the year when it might be 80-20, and there are times in the year when it might be 60-40, right? Or 40-60. So, yeah, this is a way of saying that when there are no trade-offs, if there are no kids, it's like you're just working. But
I think I disagree with that because I think trade-offs has a negative connotation, whereas balance is about finding the equilibrium. It doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. It's about finding what is right for you.
Well, this is an interesting conversation. I think of balance. I literally think of of a balance, right? And so that's why I don't like hearing work-life balance, because it makes it seem like it's supposed to be, you're supposed to have this robust, non-work life, and it's about trade-offs. It's what you're willing to trade off to have what you want. So that's just the framing that I've always thought of it.
Yeah, I don't like looking at it that way.
Okay,
I think
that's fine.
trade-offs makes it sound like you're having to give up a lot, and
but you're giving up something.
it has a negative connotation. Whereas balance, I mean, this is the same thing that I just said. It doesn't have to be 50-50. It's about finding your right equilibrium. Just because you're imagining balance as 50-50, I don't think.
Okay. I mean, I think
it has to be. Also, I think there are a lot of ways, and what the ideal version of balance goes to is that it is making you whole on both sides, so that if you are more happy in one part of your life, if you're more happy at home, it's probably making your work better, or
sure,
that is the balance.
Yeah, but this is a deep conversation we can get into on a different day. But I've always thought, like, I don't believe the two are mutually exclusive, but I think there are times. The way this started is, if I love my kids, like they give me more joy than my work, no doubt about that. But I'm saying,
Thank God.
I could be far more productive if I didn't have any obligations outside of work, which was like, I remember when I got hired to cover UVA and Virginia Tech, that was basically the deal. It's like, who can move down to Charlottesville, Virginia on 3 weeks' notice? At the time, I had no girlfriend. The extent of my belongings fit in the trunk of my car. It was like, I can move there tomorrow and be fine. Like, just show me where the work is and I will go do it. And I couldn't make that decision at 38 years old, right?
Yeah, that's life.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I don't want to linger here. What was the name of the place? Charlottesville?
Charlottesville.
Oh, Charlottesville.
Did I not enunciate that? Charlottesville.
Did you hear Charlottesville too? Yikes.
Sorry. Charlottesville. Yes.
Okay. That's a good. I think it's an okay conversation. Okay. All right, let's take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and then we're going to get into this game, trying to find this year's versions of last year's success stories. We start with our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA and NHL. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. You know what one of those sports is? College basketball. Big week for college basketball. Big week for Zach to sweat out those money lines on the 7-10s. We've also got Slam Dunk Saturdays and Tip-Off Tuesdays if you're into the NBA. It's another Bet365 NBA Tip-Off Tuesday. Place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on the NBA games on Tuesday nights and get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Watching John Marks, and I was thinking about that great head of hair he has, and I know that Glatt Hair Restoration is I should say the Morgenstern Center for Orbital and Facial Plastic Surgery, which recently welcomed the Glatt Group, is the place to go. Glatt Hair has been restoring and defending hairlines for over 30 years. It's no wonder they have the reputation that they do. Their proven results and experienced teams are only a few reasons the Glatt Hair name has stood the test of time. Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical is not just about restoration. It's about innovation. Their breakthrough specialized Glatt Hair technique really does dramatically change lives and hairlines. The Glatt Hair technique consists of one-on-one care, a 100% personalized hair restoration plan of action designed just for you and your specific hair loss, follow-up care, cutting-edge hair loss prevention treatments, medications, and more. Glatt Hair can help you keep the hair you already have or help bring you what you've already lost, bring back what already lost. If you'd like more information and are ready to defend your hairline today, visit glatthairmm.com. That's glatthairmm.com. Or you can call or text 610-980-4000.
All right, Zach, let's start at the bottom and work our way up here with this exercise. So let's start at Oren Burks. And so what we're looking for here, and I think this is probably the area we're playing in with this first wave of signings the Eagles have had in the first week of free agency. Somebody who is signed for not a lot of money and you think can, when called upon, answer the bell and do his job. Who is the one you have here?
Yeah, my answer here is Harrison Bryant.
Okay.
And I bring up Harrison Bryant because I'm not expecting him to be the number one tight end. I think, though, that if something were to happen to whoever the number one tight end is next year, Harrison Bryant can step in 3-4 games and give you fine, serviceable production. Similar, I suppose, to what you saw from Grant Calcaterra, just maybe looking a little different. But of the veterans they signed who fit the Oren Burks mold, Harrison Bryant jumps to mind.
What do you, if they don't draft a tight end? I mean, I think they probably will.
Yeah, then they better keep Dallas Goedert.
But let's imagine they move on from Dallas Goedert and they go into next year with Grant Calcaterra, Harrison Bryant, Kylan Granson, and a 6th-round pick at tight end, or an undrafted guy who they give a lot of bonus to. How do you think that works itself out? Do you think Grant Calcaterra is the number one? Do you think Harrison Bryant is the number one? How do you think
question.
that would? How would
My
you
guess is
handicap
Calcaterra is the number one. Probably anchored to that because he's been here for 3 years. But I don't think that's a very good. I don't think that's a very good outcome for the Eagles. As we've said, if you cut Dallas Goedert or you trade Dallas Goedert, let's say trade Dallas Goedert, what's your plan there? And your plan, you better have a plan. It can't just be, we can make do with this because we have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The tight end doesn't have that type of role. No, I think you need to be aggressive the same way you were when you went out and got Dallas Goedert behind Zach Ertz, the same way you were when you got Dallas Goedert behind Brent Selleck. Like, you don't have a succession plan here. Figure it out. Figure out what you would do. Now, they might argue Grant Calcaterra is better than we're giving credit for, and that well might be the case. I thought he looked good in reserve reps this year, but you can't take for granted how good Dallas Goedert is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Granted.
I see.
Well done.
Yeah.
I think there's reason to be.
That correctly.
I think there's a reason to be optimistic about Harrison Bryant and dream on it. Why not? I mean, if you're talking yourself into it, he's always been blocked.
Yes.
Right. He goes to the Browns when they have Njoku, then he signs with the Raiders, as you said, and then they draft Brock Bowers when they already had Michael Mayer. Yes. Like, it's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's your answer here?
For me, I'm going to Adoree Jackson here. And I think there is some similarity where, like, your last taste of this player is a bad one. Like, Oren Burks goes into the Super Bowl a year ago and gets exposed, and is a big part of the reason they lost that game. Adoree Jackson's coming off a bad season for a bad team and dealt with some injuries, but he's also shown that he can be a capable player, and I think it's possible if he is the number 4 corner. Let's say the Eagles don't add another corner. He beats out Eli Ricks for the 4th job behind Kelee Ringo. I mean, chances are he's going to get called upon at some point. You can't count on all 3 starting corners staying healthy. And I think he's, if he's not asked to play 17 games, maybe that means his legs are a little bit younger, and fresh, and he can answer the bell. I don't think that's a crazy thing. It's also a position at cornerback where there is a lot of year-to-year volatility, and so yeah, I think you could hope for a bump.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, I was considering Jackson. I wonder if Jackson is shot or washed, however, whatever phrase you want to use there. But I think it certainly makes sense from the profile. Yeah, that he started a lot of games in this league. If something were to happen to a young player in front of him, you're at least confident that the moment's not too big for Adoree Jackson. Similar to what to Oren Burks. The moment was not too big for Oren Burks.
The other one I considered here is a lower level, Avery Williams. I think he could win that job. He could be the return man.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting that the Eagles didn't designate a position for him. They just did punt returner, kick returner.
Yeah, because he came in as a corner and then they moved him to running back.
But it's not like running back / returner.
Right.
They are just viewing him as a return specialist.
Well, but he's going to have to practice somewhere come training camp.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like the long snapper.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to. I think maybe they're waiting to see how the roster looks, and then they can
sure.
send him wherever they want.
Maybe.
I mean, he's not going to just stand on the sideline during team drills. He's got to go somewhere.
With what group, though? Yeah, I'm curious to see.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next level. This is the Moro Ojomo level. And I think a lot of options here. This is you're looking for a young player, maybe second or third year, who it takes a step from sort of afterthought to a real part of the team, part of a rotation, and enough so that you imagine him being here for a few years as part of the plan for the Eagles. Who did you go with on this one?
I had two options here, so I'm going to let you go first because if we have the same ones, I won't
go
use
first,
them.
and then because I've got a couple. Well, go ahead.
My two guys here were Will Shipley and Sidney Brown.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay. Do you have either of those?
No, but I have
Sidney
them
for
at
a
the
different
next
category.
level.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
As possibilities.
Okay. Yeah. So Shipley probably fits more in terms of the framing of this because he's not going to be a starter.
Yeah, I think Shipley's better for this one.
Yeah. I just didn't want to duplicate
That's okay.
Brown. But yeah, so Shipley's the guy I would point to is that I can see Shipley becoming the number 2 running back here and having to step in or play more than Gainwell did this past year and look good in that job where you're saying they have a starting running back as their number 2. And it could be an interesting way of viewing the position. So Will Shipley is my answer here. I do think he's going to be the number 2 back next year.
I think that's a good one because it's the right level where like you saw a little bit from him in year 1. Now he's presumably going to have a bigger role, and if he shows enough, it could be like, oh, maybe we really have something here.
I was listening to his draft call over the weekend.
Why?
I was reviewing some stuff from the Eagles draft last year, and Howie Roseman.
That's a perfect example of the thing you could never make time for if only you didn't have kids.
And he says to Howie, "Hi, this is Will Shipley." And Howie's like, I know who you are. I drafted you.
Yeah.
But just a real polite way to answer the phone. I respected that.
That tracks. I have a couple off the wall ones here.
Okay.
They're not going to
that
be
tracks.
That tracks. I kind of think that there's an outside chance of Andre Sam becoming a guy. As if they're going cheaper at that position.
Sam. Okay.
I like an Andre Sam. I think Trevor Keegan could be an answer here if he is called upon as the backup guard and has a couple games where he has to start and looks good. I was thinking about this the other day. What if part of the plan at tight end is moving Johnny Wilson there?
Even when they were so steadfast last year that wasn't going to happen?
But in a post-Dallas Goedert world.
Sure. They already had a year looking at him. They could say, Johnny, you fit better here. Maybe so.
But my real answer here is I think this kind of tracks with the precise trajectory of Ojomo last year is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Because the case here would be Jeremiah Trotter Jr. maybe starts the first half of the year next to Zack Baun and is good, not great, but good. And then Nakobe Dean comes in. But then Nakobe Dean is going to be a free agent next offseason. And so maybe Jeremiah Trotter Jr. does enough to look good to allow the Eagles to move on from Nakobe Dean and be the guy who's penciled in to start next season. And that gives them some safety and something to dream on at a cheap rookie contract level.
That makes sense to me. I was considering Trotter in this category, and that definitely does track when you look at the Nakobe Dean contract situation.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we're being fanciful here.
Yes, that's
I
the
think
that's
it's
the
it's
premise
not
of this.
likely, but yeah, we're dreaming.
It's a cool concept for a Monday March show. I like it.
Super cool. All right, next up, the Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith one. Different parts of their careers, but both of them
Yeah.
had, the stories of the early part of their careers were one of disappointment. Nakobe Dean is injury plagued. His second year doesn't get on the field. His first year, Nolan Smith doesn't get on the field much his first year. Has to play in the final preseason game, and then has like one of the best in-season improvements we've ever seen. Who is someone you think a homegrown player who can take this kind of ascension?
Yeah, so if I'm bouncing Sidney Brown up to this one, then Kelee Ringo and Sidney Brown.
Yeah.
But I will lean toward Kelee Ringo because I think Kelee Ringo can turn into a high-level or like a real solid starter for the Eagles. Someone who they kind of view as part of their core moving forward. I like Kelee Ringo's skill set. I need to see more from him, obviously, in games, but I thought he was going to win that job last summer. I was wrong, clearly. I was wrong about thinking he was going to be better than Isaiah Rodgers, clearly. But we've used the framing of he's younger than Quinyon Mitchell.
He's gonna just ask if you knew that.
Yeah, he's
I think, can we make this a thing? Can we make a counter? Let's see if we can do like consecutive days mentioning that Kelee Ringo is a year younger than Quinyon Mitchell. I think we should see if we can make it all the way to training camp. Every episode, just slide in a mention somewhere.
okay. I like that.
And then we can keep the counter, however many days in a row.
That's like Bob Papa. Do you know Bob Papa, the
Yes.
play-by-play announcer? I did a story on him one time, and his kids would give him a word that he needed to say.
Love that.
In his introduction.
Okay.
Of his he was doing Thursday Night Football at the time.
Okay.
And so they would give him a word, and he would have to say it in the top of in his opening monologue.
Love that.
And he would find a way to weave it in. So in the piece, he told me what the word was going to be, and so I'm watching it. So it was cool to see. So it's kind of like that. We have to find ways to organically put this in.
I like that. I would appreciate that because then it gives me something to work into.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you do enjoy a bit.
I do enjoy a bit.
Kelee Ringo, younger than Quinyon Mitchell, but I say that because I think there's a big development curve that he's still on, and I like the way he's progressed in these first 2 years. I know the Eagles, I like him. Now that's a demanding position. Like I think Sidney Brown probably there's less resistance for Sidney Brown to be an impact player at his position because I think it's easier to be a really good safety than it is to be a really good corner. That said, I like Kelee Ringo as a player a little bit more.
I agree with you. I think Kelee Ringo is probably the right answer here. And I also think if you're thinking of the way that the Eagles are approaching it internally, I mean, we sort of made fun of Howie last year when he was at that post-season press conference, which was postponed because of the snow, that, he was really banging on, we believe in Nakobe Dean, he's a big part of his future. And there was nothing really to suggest that should have been the case. I think the Eagles internally believe that Kelee Ringo is going to be the starting corner on the outside. They believe in him to that extent, and we have to see it play out that way. But I think it is a reasonable bet for them to make. I think they need to be prepared for that not happening. But everything we have seen from him when he's been called upon has been pretty good, and it is a position that takes some development. Oftentimes, he's got tools in his body, as it were. I think it's reasonable to be bullish on Kelee Ringo. I think they would point to the stuff he did on special teams is indicative of what he could be like when called upon on the outside. I believe in Kelee Ringo.
I also think I should add he's obviously not in the Milton Williams category here, but similar to what Milton was at one point. You have 2 years of him here, right? Because I don't foresee them giving him an extension unless he's a star.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they have Mitchell, they have DeJean, so chances are you have 2 years to maximize this investment before he signs elsewhere. Similar to the way we always talked about Milton Williams. Like when you draft over somebody, then anything can happen.
Yeah,
but you probably
fair.
get locked in.
Unless he's good early in the season this year. And they do the race to the quick extension,
sure,
so they can get him at a reasonable deal.
Could be that too.
That's possible. All right, quick break, and then we'll get to the ascending tiers here. We got the Mekhi Becton tier, the Milton Williams tier, and then we will close with the superstar Zack Baun tier. But we start with our friends at Rocket Money. Can you name every single subscription you have and how much each of them costs? I doubt it. That's where Rocket Money comes in. I just learned that over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. With Rocket Money, I don't have to remember every single prescription or worry about forgetting any because I can see them all laid out right in front of me. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Get alerts if bills increase in price, there is unusual spending activity, or if you are close to going over budget. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate to lower your bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you, and they will deal with customer service. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
Bo and Julia, I want to live a long time. I want to spend as much time with my kids as I'm able to. I want to see their lives as they grow older, as they graduate, as they go through the challenges of their 20s, as they get married, as they have kids. And I know the best way for me to do that is, well, there's many ways to do that. One of them is
putting a lot of expectations on them.
Is with Timeline, okay? And you might be saying, Timeline, what are you talking about? Well, Timeline sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MitoPure ingredient. The cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. The patent ingredient is MitoPure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, which are also known as your cell's battery packs. Now, this might sound like we're in Mr. Rittenhouse's science class. That's not the case here, okay? This is practical with regular use. You'll see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, and more endurance. MitoPure recharges your cells and helps your body system work. It says we can mention here, how we like to have physical activities. It's sports, playing with kids. I love playing with my kids. MitoPure will help with that. It's the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. It's shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. That is a win. Get ready to be your best, most energized, most revitalized you. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY today to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY.
I believe we have a super chat to get to.
I need more MitoPure.
I know that's right. Jack Royer says, I don't agree that Howie would have done the same thing if we lost the Super Bowl. I think Sweat Milton would be gone, but can't see doing the Saquon Baun contracts. I was wondering about this the other day, too. I kind of agree with that. I don't know that they would have extended all the way to 17 for Baun if they lost the Super Bowl.
Really? I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what the game was like.
Sure.
But like, let's say they lost decisively, which is
sure.
It's unlikely. I think they played that game 10 times. Eagles win, 8 or 9 of them. But let's say that happened. I don't know. I think it might have been a little bit more back to basics.
I just don't know who you're replacing him with. I guess you're going on that carousel and finding the next Zack Baun.
Yeah. I think they do still do the Saquon deal.
I actually think it's the other way around. I think they're maybe less likely to do the Saquon extension.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, the Saquon extension was just rewarding a guy who had a historic season. It's not as if they're like, we need to have Saquon Barkley in 2027 or 2026, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think they might have let them all go.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't feel super strongly about that.
Yeah.
I think they still would have wanted to bring Baun back, but I don't know that they would have preemptively
Gone up to that number.
Yeah, all the way.
Sure. If Zack Baun doesn't have the interception in the Super Bowl and plays awesome, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a good thing we'll never know.
By the way, you brought up the Super Bowl. I need to say this. If you haven't seen Anthony's interview yet with Steve Spagnuolo, which you can find on our PHLY YouTube channel, make sure you check that out. I was able to watch it all this weekend, and just like great organic, real honest football conversation that it's like what makes podcasts great sometimes is 45 minutes of extended conversation, something you can't get on radio. Really enjoyed it, so make sure you check that out.
Well said.
Thank you, Julia, for putting that up on the screen.
Great stuff.
Just don't leave our show yet, right? Finish watching the show. Yeah,
that's right. We've got more super chats to get to here. We've got Cash Squatch, who says, if Goddard's traded over under 300 yards for Jahan Dotson, that may lead into the answer for one of these conversations.
Okay, so we'll hold off.
We'll hold off on that. And then Dinkelberg saying, Zach, if becoming a cyborg was your best way to stay alive for as long as you could, would you do it even if you were considered a potential risk to society?
No. I know. I don't know enough about being a cyborg, but I enjoy being part of humanity. So.
But would you want to, are you willing to accept a potential monkey's paw? If you say, I want to live as long as possible, but that means that you then live to be 400 years old and outlive humanity and you're just sitting around like that. You don't want that.
No, it's I think, not to get deep here, but part of what makes the night fun is that the night's over, right? Is that so at some point you say my time here is finished. I squeezed as much life as I could out of it. I subscribed to this newsletter for this guy who's talking. He's into longevity, living longer. His name's Peter Diamandis. Okay.
Wait, is this the weird guy? The guy who's tracking his son's boners at night?
I haven't read that. No, I don't know. I heard him speak at a Philadelphia Speaker Series, and I subscribed to his newsletter. And so I'm a big newsletter subscriber.
I was just gonna ask, how many newsletters do you subscribe to?
I really enjoy Malcolm Jenkins' newsletter. I've been reading that. That's good stuff.
Okay.
But anyways, there's some stuff in this newsletter that I find helpful. There's other stuff where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to live to 150. I think you get to a point where you say, I've seen what I've needed to see. I've done what I need to do. Now I hope there's a long time before I get to that point, but
yeah,
that conversation took a turn.
And then I deliver one more super chat. Oh no, this was just from CK, who says, "Long-time sicko, first-time diehard. My inaugural article was Bo's exclusive. Who is New Eagle Charlie Hewlett? Instant ROI. Keep up the stellar reporting." I appreciate that.
Well done.
Listen, good writing is good writing.
There you go.
All right, let's get to Mekhi Becton. Okay, so this is a veteran cast-off, someone who is resurrecting their career. I think there are. I came down with 3 or 4 real options here. Who jumped to mind for you?
So I'm going with Josh Uche.
Okay.
And I'm saying that because I think there is a lane that exists where he's your third pass rusher, and he gets the quarterback, has 10 sacks, and his market this year, which was at $1.5 million, or whatever, or a $1.9 million, he's an $8 million, $10 million a year player next year. He's still kind of in that age profile. So he's the guy I pointed to as a 1-year signing, who you're thinking at the signing he's just going to kind of fill a role, but maybe he takes on a bigger role, and I think he has the juice to be a productive edge rusher.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he is probably the guy who, if you're looking at, had a high but has been disappointing and is coming in on a cheap 1-year deal to rebuild his value, does make a lot of sense. listen, nobody saw Zack Baun coming, so I'm not going to say that
Yeah.
Josh Uche can't be there. I'm a little skeptical
Okay.
of him, but why not dream? That's a
Yeah.
good one, and it's a good one where you say, he got to the right place where he needed to be and was able to show all of his skills. I think it's fine. I have two possibilities here. I think Kenyon Green is the one who makes the most sense, whereas this is a first round caliber offensive lineman in terms of just the tools in his body. He gets to Jeff Stoutland. He proves he can be a force in the run game and a good starter, and probably leaves and gets a nice contract somewhere else. But I don't want to go back to the well here, something where I have been wrong in the past. Why not Bryce Huff?
Okay.
Why can't Bryce Huff rebuild his career with a fine season as the third edge rusher and get 8 sacks just as a third down specialist for this defense, and then he can go somewhere else next season and you move on? I don't know. It feels like the kind of guy who the roller coaster of his career. Why not?
I mean,
again, we're not holding ourselves to these. This is let's dream.
He's done it before, right? We've seen him. The reason why they paid him $17 million is because they thought the tools were there. He had a double-digit sack season with the Jets, and you're like, in a bigger role, what can he do? And did not go well last year. Howie said the book's not written on him yet. We'll see. But, yeah, I think that's a fine. Howie probably said the book wasn't written on Mekhi Becton a year ago.
True.
And look at him now.
I have a funny dream story from this weekend.
Ah, okay.
My kids thought this was very funny. I don't ever remember my dreams basically, but
you should write them down when you wake up.
I mean, I could do that. I don't think I remember them even when I wake up, but I did remember this one. I actually don't remember what was happening in the dream itself for the most part, but I was for whatever reason in the dream brushing my teeth, and I'm just I'm brushing my teeth, and then I go to spit out the stuff. And I woke myself up because I actually spit.
Really?
And spit onto my own face. I was lying on my back. I spit out the toothpaste and woke myself up by spitting onto my face.
Has that ever happened before?
Not that I can remember.
No, okay. Well, you're practicing good oral hygiene in
yeah, exactly.
in your dreams. That's a good thing to dream about. Yeah.
Yeah, tough way to wake up.
I mean, there's worse ways to wake up. That's
there.
What's that?
That's what Rachel said too. He's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very funny.
I ask my kids every morning, what did you dream about?
Yeah.
And they say the same thing. I didn't dream. And I said, that sounds horrible, right? That's the best. It's the best part of sleeping is dreaming.
That's the best part of sleeping?
Yes. Do you disagree with me there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest is but I mean, I don't strongly disagree with you. I just don't remember my dreams that much.
Yeah, but
I would love to, but
yeah.
To be fair, I don't know that you're the expert on sleep.
I'm not the expert on sleep, but I do dream, and I remember my dreams. So, yeah, I see these ads sometimes for these allergy medications that cause vivid dreams, and I'm kind of intrigued by this.
Oh, okay.
No, intrigued. Like what are we talking about? Vivid dreams here.
Have you ever considered drugs?
Have I considered drugs? Of what variety?
Psychedelics. I mean, this feels like that you're intrigued by vivid dreams. You might as well just take mushrooms once or something.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. But
from the earth,
I don't judge. So
a funny comment from Zach in the chat, who says, Zach with a K, who says, I once had a dream and a bird flew at my head. And I lifted my hands to protect myself and accidentally punched my sleeping wife in the face.
Oh, God. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes.
Okay. We move on now to the Milton Williams tier, our second highest tier. And this is a player who takes a leap from good to great, which I guess you could argue about Milton Williams this year, and potentially sets themselves up for a big-time payday. Who did you have here?
I got Jordan Davis.
Okay.
And
he's on my list as a possibility.
Yeah, because I can see a situation in which the Eagles don't give him the fifth year, don't exercise his fifth year option. Jordan Davis plays more this year. He puts it all together. And you're a team on the free agent market next year, and you say, man, you have this guy who's just a rare human being, 6'6", 330, can run the way he does, has the power that he has. And let's say he has 8.5 sacks next year and is a force in the pass game, then he's like a $20 million a year player at that point, right?
Probably so.
Yeah, so that's why I went with Jordan Davis. I don't think the Eagles are gonna. Well, I actually don't know if the Eagles are gonna exercise his fifth-year option. I haven't heard one way or the other. But if he's a nose tackle and he's not affecting the pass rush, he's not worth the fifth-year option.
Yeah,
but
he's going to need to play more snaps.
Yeah, but if he becomes the player that they thought he was going to be when he was a top 15 pick, then that changes everything in his career.
Jordan Davis, the answer to the trivia question, who is the only Eagle who started all 17 games this season?
Oh, I like that trivia question. Yeah. I'm actually going to write that down in my notes right here.
There we go. Look at this, as the magic happens.
Yes. Okay.
Which note are we talking here? Okay, we got the note. We got the notes app.
Yeah, Jordan Davis, 15 or started all 17 games.
What is that? What note is that?
Just the most recent note that comes up.
Oh, okay.
So
you combing through that all the time? I find that I make the mistake sometimes of like I put it in the notes app, but then I don't like circle back to look at what I was taking the notes on.
Yeah, that could. But I will recall that it was in here. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, why not? It's a position that often takes time, and we sort of expect that the way the Eagles are going to fill in for Milton Williams is Moro Ojomo taking those third down snaps, but Jordan Davis showed some pass rush chops in the playoffs. Why can't he do it a little bit more next season? I do think he is going to be an interesting test case for this philosophy we think the Eagles are going to have now, which is pay the elite guys and try to fill out the roster everywhere else with lower paid guys or players on rookie contracts. I think he's like the perfect example of like a B+ player who you probably don't want to pay like an A player. But if he takes that kind of leap next year, then maybe that will not be the case.
Yeah, I was going back and reading 2022 scouting reports, preparing for today's show. And it's fascinating to see like the way he was discussed coming out of the draft.
All right. We're getting ready to get to overtime. Just a few seconds, which you can watch on all PHLY to check out the rest of the show. Oh, that's right. We're going to overtime. Zach Berman's secret Ken doll has a super chat and says, going to a conference next month, favorite NOLA restaurants besides Hooters.
Should I wait until after 3 o'clock here?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, no disrespect to Hooters, but I haven't been to one since college, so I couldn't answer that question over there. But my favorite New Orleans restaurant by far is Giacomo's. I love Giacomo's. I was there with some friends and former colleagues from Washington during Super Bowl week, and it is so good, and it's not stuffy in there. It's
away from downtown, which is kind of nice.
High quality food, the type of food too that you're not getting in Philly. Like it's authentic New Orleans cuisine. So that's really good. I also enjoyed the dinner we had.
Yeah, what was the name of that place?
Was it K8 or K2? N7.
I think N7 might be right.
N7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, that was very good. That was really good.
And then I had a reservation that I was able to give to friends on Saturday night that I didn't go out to, but I heard very good things. I forget the name.
What was that?
It was also a little bit out of town. The woman Nina, who was on Top Chef, it's like her second restaurant. I got to find it, but that's not helpful. Zach Berman's secret Ken doll. I like the name.
Yeah, but make sure you check out Giacomo's and tell him I sent you.
All right. My Milton Williams, and this one is a bit of a stretch. I found this one to be difficult. Now, there's one player here who I think could make this type of leap, and it's not perfect because they're not taking they're not going on to free agency. But I think there's a case, if you really want to dream, that Jalix Hunt turns into like a really, really, really good defensive end in year 2.
I can see that for sure.
And is like, we don't miss, not to say you don't miss Josh Sweat, but like Jalix Hunt, based on what we saw in the Super Bowl, if he improves from that,
Yes.
I think he could be a star. And he's one I have an eye on. But if we're looking at who could rebuild their value or bump up their value, I don't know if I believe in this one very much. But what about Jahan Dotson?
I can definitely see that.
And this goes to the super chat. Like, if the Eagles are moving off of Dallas Goedert, which still remains a possibility, and they're trying to figure out a different way to disperse that number 3 target based off what we saw in the Super Bowl. If Jalen Hurts now trusts Jahan Dotson, this is a player going into free agency, the final year of his rookie deal. I don't know. Couldn't he have a 600-yard season or something like that and then go earn like $12 million?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a world that exists where I know Eagles fans don't like when we say this. If Devontae or AJ goes down early in the year and Jahan Dotson steps into the number 2 role and he has a big season. I watched on speed. I watched on fast on like going through it quickly the Week 18 game this weekend, and Jahan Dotson looked real good in that game. I think 7 catches, 90 yards.
McKee,
yeah. So a world exists where Jahan Dotson fulfills the promise that made him a top 20 pick.
I think you could also squint and go Grant Calcaterra here. What if he's the number 1 tight end, and he has a 500-yard season and is productive, and then he gets paid as a starting tight end somewhere else?
That is also a possibility.
There you go. All right, last one. Zack Baun. Who is going to surprise the world and become a household name? Less about the money, more about just someone who is not counted on and comes in and just changes the way we think about this team. Who you got?
Yeah, so this is a tough one because obviously you're not just it's hard to say this guy who you didn't think much of is going to become an all-pro. That's a once in a blue moon type situation. But I'm going to go here.
I think you could get in real trouble trying to find the next Zack Baun. Yeah. Obviously, this is extremely pie in the sky. There's not going to be anyone who ever follows that same path.
So I'm going Kenyon Green here.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going Kenyon Green here because I said I was going through those 2022 scouting reports, right? And so I'm reading The Beast, and I'm reading Daniel Jeremiah. I know Fran read his on the show. I didn't have access to Fran's today for prep work. And he was thought of as like he has the tools to be one of the best guards in the league, like an instant starter, high level guard. It hasn't happened yet. We talked about how Kelee Ringo is younger than Quinyon Mitchell, right? He's younger. And Kenyon Green's younger than Tyler Steen. There are prospects in this draft who are older than Kenyon Green, and so I look at it as now he goes with Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland's turned, Jordan Mailata never played football before, right? Yeah. Mekhi Becton had never played guard before. Brandon Brooks was a good player in Houston, like a solid player in Houston, who turned into an all-pro in Philadelphia. What's to say that Jeff Stoutland doesn't make Kenyon Green into an all-pro player? So that's why I just think that if the tools are there, and I don't know Kenyon Green, but if he's wired the right way, I've seen Stoutland do this before. Brandon Brooks is the example I would point to as someone who was like, now he was a good player. He earned a good contract with the Eagles, but he was not an all-pro in Houston. And he became the best guard in the NFL in Philadelphia.
I think that's a good one.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're dreaming. I think that's possible. If there are technique things that Stout is able to get him to refine, he's got the power that you would expect for him to be a monster in the running game. Why not? Let's dream. For me, I mentioned Jalen Hunt as a player I think who could take some kind of leap like this. I think you could make a case for Ojomo making this second leap. Like, what if he turns into a superstar on third down? I think Uche, who we talked about, is like the one who fits this template just based on where he was found in the draft. But if I'm thinking of a guy who can go from most people don't know who this player is, and he becomes a household name and becomes a superstar, it's not going to surprise you who I think. I'm not wishing this into existence. But if there is a case where the Eagles have to bring in a backup quarterback to to lead
That's
them
fair.
the entire season, let's say. And this player is awesome and is all of a sudden thought of as a $20+ million player. Why can't Tanner McKee be the next Zack Baun?
Look, I'm not going to push back on you there. Now, I don't. I will let you get on with your point, but I'm fascinated. What then? Right?
What then is, of course. Yeah.
What then do they do? Like if Tanner McKee steps in and leads you to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, what then? Because that's a fascinating conversation to be
crazy.
had.
I mean, yeah, it's insane.
But no, you are correct. Like, I mean, if we saw in Week 18, he wasn't even playing with his starters, and he was playing against starters, and he was awesome that game. You know, some of the throws. I was watching that Cowboys game. He goes 3 for 4 for the 2 touchdowns there. But after Saquon broke the record, like that pass to Devontae, the touchdown to the left side to AJ, like, yeah, there's a reason why the Eagles were not bringing Kenny Pickett back, and it's the chin strap away conversation. And the thing about the chin strap away conversation is the Nick Foles thing happened in Week 14 that year. The Kurt Warner thing happened in the preseason. Like Trent Green tore his ACL in the preseason. Now the Eagles don't play their guys in the preseason, but Tom Brady got injured Week 1, and Matt Castle steps in, and Matt Castle became a starting quarterback in the league based on that happening. So, yeah, and a world absolutely exists where this could occur.
We respect Mormons on this show, right? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, listen, everybody knows I believe in Tanner McKee.
We respect everyone on this show, Mormons included.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you know where I stand on Tanner McKee.
Yes.
I think if that unfortunate knock on wood situation were to occur, I think Tanner McKee would acquit himself well enough that he would be known league wide as a starting caliber quarterback.
And the other thing is, I would get on the post game show sooner, which would also be a good thing.
That's true.
if I'm selfish about this, I could say Bo is right, and I would get on the post game shows about 25 minutes sooner because Tanner would come right out.
Yeah, that's true. Let's close with who's your favorite Irish person?
My favorite Irish person, Jamie Lynch.
Who'd you love?
Jamie Lynch is in the next office right now, so I would go Jamie Lynch.
Jamie Lynch.
I mean, I love the guy. Sean Grieve. There you go.
Sean Grieve.
Yeah.
What a player.
There's so many people I could point to. But yeah, I'll go Jamie because he's in the next office.
Shots fired at Sean Grieve.
No.
Poor guy.
No.
Used to think he was Zach's favorite Irishman.
No, all right.
And all of a sudden he gets pipped by Jamie Lynch.
No. Sean.
Poor guy.
Actually, I will hear from Sean on this, so definitely Sean. Sorry,
Yeah,
Jamie.
well, McGinnis now.
Yeah, no, Sean's. I like to say Sean, he's got some Scottish in him too, I believe. So
would you like some?
I don't know. Actually, I'm just gonna say Sean Grieve's my favorite one here.
Congratulations to Sean Grieve. Honor of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's coming up this week? What else we got?
You tell me. No, this is.
You heard from the long snapper today. Did you learn anything?
So he met a lot of people at joint practices a few years ago. That's kind of his basis of understanding.
Julia, just so you know, that's not a practice where everyone smokes a joint.
The joint practice, yeah.
You're rolling up pieces of paper. There's nothing in there. You're just practicing rolling.
I mean, I suppose
it's joint practice.
I suppose that could happen at joint practices, right?
Yeah, it could.
Yes, but it might make our shows more entertaining. After that. I wouldn't know, but I'll take your word on it. So this week is a relatively quiet week for the Eagles. Now, immortal last or famous last words, right? There could be a big trade. There could be the second wave signing. But this is the period now where the owners' meetings are in 2 weeks. The Eagles will kind of value shop now, but this is the time where it kind of transitions from free agency to the draft. And typically, post owners' meetings, it's like all draft. So this week and next week is kind of like that. I don't want to say that no man's land in between then, but there's some draft stuff goes on. I would hope the Eagles would announce their coaching staff at some point.
That might be nice.
That would be wonderful. Like we kind of know the people on there, but you can see Sometimes there's internal promotions, things of that nature.
There was a report over the weekend they added another young person to the staff.
Yeah,
wasn't
chief
there?
of staff.
Ah,
A
chief of staff.
yeah, from UAB. So
Very West Wing title.
or well, I think the title is actually going to be he's the chief of staff at UAB. He'd be the assistant head coach for the Eagles and
assistant to
the head coach, Dwight Schrute. Yes. And this is notable. This is a role that was once occupied in Philly by Sean McDermott. He was once occupied by Brett Veach. When I started on the beat, actually, in 2012, Brett Veach was in this role. James Urban was in this role under Andy Reid. And so, actually, when Chip Kelly came aboard, it was they made he had a chief of staff, is what he called it. And that was James Harris, who had considerable influence here. With Doug Peterson, Spencer Phillips was the first one in that role. So they've had a number of different people there. It could be a valuable entry point depending upon how the coach sees it, depending on how the coach utilizes it. But I would love to see the Eagles fill out their staff. That said, this is a show or this is a week where we can be more creative with the shows. I would love to add an NCAA tournament element to these shows this year.
Yes, we've got to create the bracket on ESPN for the sickos to join.
Yes. Maybe we can have a bracket type show where we
quackatology, if you will.
Quackatology, if you will, yes. That too, yep. And no, just friends hanging out on set, talking Eagles.
I know that's right.
And other stuff. What's better than that?
Guys being dudes, what's better than that?
Yeah, what are you thinking about this week?
I don't know.
You have any St. Patty's Day plans tonight? You going to the local pub?
Nope.
And throw back a Guinness?
Nope.
No? You like Guinness?
I don't mind a Guinness.
Okay.
Guinness is I like a Guinness in the morning on a you're at an airport, you're on vacation.
You keeping the accent, or you're kind of in between right now? Yeah.
You got like a 10 a.m. flight,
Okay.
long cross country flight. Get me a Guinness.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
You a car bomb guy?
How dare you?
What?
No, not really.
Oh, what? No.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not 21 years old.
I saw an interview this weekend where Bill Belichick introduced a person to the car bomb. I'm trying to figure out what the interview was that I saw that, but hold on here. Let me pull this up here. Oh, Rick Pitino. Yeah, it was in the New York Post. Steve Serby, his Sunday Q&A was with Rick Pitino, and he talked in there about how Bill Belichick they were out, and Bill Belichick introduced him to the Irish car bomb.
Two of the best men around.
Hey,
gentlemen to aspire.
You said you're not a college student. That's why you don't like car bombs. If you want to hang out with college students, you gotta drink car bomb.
Pick up a college student, and you're 75 years old. The key to the heart is a car bomb. All right.
Do you have any plans tonight, though?
No.
Okay. All right.
You?
I'm gonna work. I'm gonna grill, and then I'm going to have a basketball game, a playoff basketball game.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
The game tonight. You're gonna grill before the game.
Yeah, I gotta eat.
Okay.
And how
are you feeling about this game?
I indulged this weekend, and so
did you get your celebratory cheesesteak?
Yeah, shout out to Johnny's. Johnny's on Lancaster Avenue in Bryn Mawr. Awesome there.
Nice.
Can't recommend it enough. I know it's become like really popular. I was at day one, I like to say, but I see Johnny. I was talking to Johnny there about the Eagles. We were talking about the Becton move. But yeah, that place is awesome. So had cheesesteak, pizza. I lived like my college self this weekend, and now I am
insomnia cookies.
Not insomnia cookies, but a different dessert. Handel's ice cream. And then but then now I gotta get back on track. So I'll be
I've never had Handel's. You like Handel's?
Yeah, good flavors. I really like. Now this isn't a Handel's exclusive flavor. I know Turkey Hill has it, Merrimead Farm has it, but like the Graham Slam, the Graham Slam, the Phillies Graham Slam. So it's like their graham cracker ice cream with it's so good.
They have like a what do they call it? A hurricane, like a blizzard type deal.
Yeah.
I'm only listening. I've only heard of this through Doughboys, but I've not yet had Handel's. They speak highly of it.
It's really good. Highly recommend it.
Okay, there you go. All right, that'll do it for today's episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Don't forget, tomorrow is a Tuesday. You know what that means. The PHLY Draft Show with Fran Duffy is live at noon, so don't miss that. Before all three of us will be in studio for the PHLY Eagles show at 2 o'clock. So we're here all week. We look forward to talking birds with you. And that's about all we got for Julia, for Zach, for Sean Grieve, but not Jamie Lynch. I'm Bo. We thank you for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, oh, we love ya.
We all silly like the mayor.